Hello everyone, Tina here. Welcome to my Countdown to Christmas series. Today we're going to do card number 22 and we're going to be using a sleigh die. This is the Vintage Sleigh die set from Memory Box. I picked this up over at Simon's Stamp, and I thought this was actually bigger than it is. It's kind of on the smaller side, but it's going to work perfectly for cards. There is two different sleighs over at Simon. There's a larger one and then a smaller one. I picked up the smaller one. But there's two pieces. One is the base piece and then the other cuts out detail pieces that you can layer. And we're going to create a kind of a 3D sleigh with this. And I also am bringing in an older stamp set, probably one of my favorites for the holidays. It's from Hero Arts. It's their Stamp and Cut set. It's called Joy. I like that there is the large Joy that you could die cut out. In fact, we're going to die cut that out with red cardstock. And then there's secondary sentiments you can add to it. For my sleigh, I'm using some craft colored cardstock. I'm going to color out the base of the sleigh twice and then the detail pieces 3 times. So I have a whole bunch of little sticks there. Those are 3 sets that we're going to layer together to create kind of like a chipboard effect. To do that, super easy. Actually, for the base, I'm just bringing in my tape runner. We're going to adhere our second one just right on top of the first one, adding a little stability. And then we're going to bring in our glue and just go over the top 2 curvies and then the little slats that are on the sleigh here. And then all basically what we're doing is just replacing the die cut pieces with the base piece. And again, there's going to be 3 layers, so it's really going to add a lot of dimension, and it's super easy to do. The slats look like the top and bottom are the same, but the bottom one is a little bit more straight edge. So I'm going to flip that around and just continue on until all of my pieces are put in there. And you can see I also die cut out the word Joy. I kept my negative piece because the dot of the Joy stayed in it, and which is a really good thing for me because sometimes I lose it. And so I just kept my negative piece knowing I wouldn't lose that dot of the J. So the sleigh is done. To give my sleigh a little bit of dimension, I'm just bringing in my finger daubers. I'm bringing in my brown one. This looks like it might have brushed corduroy on it, or maybe a little bit of vintage photo. I'm just using the ink that's on my finger daubers and just adding a little bit of extra color to that craft cardstock, giving it more of a vintage look too. So the sleigh is done. Now after we have our sleigh done, you can see how 3D it does. If you want to skip this and just put foam adhesive behind it, that would work too. I just don't think it would give the full effect that this cute little sleigh has. Now I have a piece of vellum. It's Hero Arts Classic Layering Vellum, and then some Hero Arts cardstock. I am using a Spellbinder's Large Die of the Month Club Kit dies to create some pine needles. These were like the perfect size, and so I recently did a video with the Large Die of the Month Club Kit, so those are the dies that I'm using. But any kind of pine needle set you have would work. I'm going to die cut out vellum and then green cardstock with those. I'm bringing in my Hemstitch circles, and we're going to create a background circle that has some dotted detail. I love these dies. This is the second largest set in the Hemstitch circle set. Went ahead and ran everything through my die cutting machine, and then now we're going to basically decorate our panel. We're going to add a little bit of glue behind our sleigh, and then we'll place this off to the right of our panel, just gluing it down. And then our pine needles, we have 2 sets of green and then 1 set of the vellum. We're going to add 2 to the upper portion of our sleigh, just kind of adding a little glue at the base and then tucking them. We'll do the same thing, but this set we're going to put on the bottom lower right, just doing a little tucking, kind of overhanging. A little more glue, and I just like adding glue to the base, kind of keeping the pine needles free flowing at the top. If you want to glue the entire thing down, you could, but I think the free flowiness just kind of gives it more natural look. Last, we'll take our vellum pine needles, put those right on top. I think it gives it a snowy look, a real frosty kind of look. So we added those. And now, speaking of frosty, that's what we're going to do with our sled and our pine needles. I'm going to just use my glue and go over a little bit of the bottom edge of the sleigh, adding some glue to the top, and then the top of the sleigh also. Now, if you want to use glossy accents for this, you could do this too, but the glue will eventually dry clear, so I wasn't too worried about it. I am going to bring in some glitter. The glitter that I'm using, I guess you can consider it chunky glitter. It's just larger clear flakes. To me, it reminds me of icicles. I picked this up at Walmart, but I think Simon might have a chunky glitter. There's no iridescence to it. It's just clear and sparkly, kind of like icicles, like I said, and that's what I like about this one. I think this tube was only 99 cents, but we're going to add some to the pine needles and then to our sleigh, and then any excess overhanging we're just going to tap off on my very small piece of scratch paper that kind of made a mess with everything. But I love the snowy look of this. And again, two things. The glue will dry clear, and then the glue that we put on the sleigh I actually put over my Distress Oxide ink from my finger dauber, so it's picking up some of that brown color. So it doesn't stay white, it actually turns a little bit brown color, but it does remind me still of vintage, so I just kept it. Maybe dirty snow, but it didn't bother me too much. Okay, now I have some white cardstock. We are going to die cut out we're going to fill the entire background of our card base with snowflakes. Basically, these 3 different sizes are, this is the Let It Snowflake die set from MFT, and I don't know if they have it still. If they did, I'll link it down below, but I like these because they're not delicate. The small one is pretty delicate, but the 2 larger ones are not, so I could use my tape runner to adhere them to my background panel. Now, if you don't want to fuss with this, and you have a snowflake embossing folder, you could skip this set, emboss your background with white cardstock, and I think it would give a close second to this. But I like the detail that this adds. I like the snowiness of it. I filled in the background. I do have a couple open areas in the middle of my, this is actually my card base, guys, and I do have some open areas, but I'm not worried about that. That's where we're going to put our circle. Let's open up our card base and just go around all the edges, trimming off the excess. And then this is a great time to use those extra pieces, the larger ones at least, and fill in any open areas. But I think I did a good job going around all the edges. So I do need to trim the top here though. And our background is good to go. I don't think we'll need that piece. I'm going to put it there just because we can, and it has adhesive behind it. Okay, let's go ahead and finish off our sentiment. We're going to bring in our stamp set. I chose a lot of secondary sentiments in the Stamp and Cut set from Hero Arts. I chose To the World, so our sentiment will read Joy to the World. I stamped it right in that open area just below the O with my VersaFine Onyx Black ink. Now for the Joy, we're going to add some foam adhesive over the J and the O. The Y is going to be overhanging on the sled, so I'm going to have to remove that and just add glue. But the rest of it is going to overhang in that open area. I actually had to double up on those very thin strips so it's nice and even. I just love the way this looks. It kind of looks like it's floating. Here, I'll show you. Okay, so sentiments done. Now we're going to go ahead and add our I that I didn't lose. We're just going to add a dot of glue just above the J, and then we'll pick this up and put this right directly on our background circle. Okay, we are going to flip this over, add some foam adhesive behind it. This is going to go in the center of our card base. We're just removing the release paper, and then we'll center this. I think that's going to work out great. Now I think we need just a little bit more, so we need some bells and whistles. Now I have a wooden snowflake button. We're going to add that just in the center of our sleigh. We'll glue that down. I think I need to glue the back of my snowflake. And then I have some red and white baker's twine. We're gonna do a faux bow. You could thread a button if you wanted to, but the holes in this button are really small, so I'm gonna put the bow right on top as if I threaded it. So it's gonna be a smaller bow. I just glued it down. If a glue dot would have actually worked out better, but I just used my glue since I had it on my desk. And then I went ahead and trimmed the tails of my baker's twine. And then that finishes my card today, guys. Countdown to Christmas, and card number 22. Thank you so much for joining me. Have a lovely day, and we will see you again real soon. Bye-bye.